Alright, so now we're going to get into the editing part of astrophotography. Keep in mind I'm not great at this at all, but I've been getting what I find to be pretty good results, so I'm just going to stick with that really. So might just go with an original picture that I got. So I've labelled these each filter and just how long. It just kind of helps me keep track of it all. So basically open Deep Sky Stacker, that's the program that I use. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. So open it up, come over to open picture file. So this will open up all your lights, which is all the data basically. So bring it over here. So one thing I like to do is check all and then register checked pictures, but I don't put stack after registering just because I like to have a look at the scores and see how they go. So it'll basically go through all the photos and basically give it a score on how well it actually looks. Alright, so you can see here it's given a score for all the pictures taken. Obviously the higher the score, the better picture it is. So just having a look at this one. Okay, you can see it's pretty nice, and then if we come to the polar opposite, you can see it obviously got bumped or something. Thus the reason we've got these two stars. If you look in the top left hand corner up here, kind of zooms in. So that would have been possibly a wind gust or my dog walking past. But yeah, so it kind of gives you a look. And if you wanted to, you could add those in, but it'll be doing worse for you. So usually what I like to do is just come along and have a look and see where I reckon the best one is for the minimum. So you can see this one, although it's 943, if you look in that top left hand corner again, that star is elongated. So I think I might just go from here up, because I'd say all those ones until that other one is pretty good. So I'm just going to basically go uncheck all. That unchecks all of them, and we know this is our last good one. Right click, check these. So now when I stack these, they're only going to put those pictures together. It's not going to worry about these ones here. So you can stack them like that, but you can also add in calibration frames. Basically it takes the noise and all that from your camera. You're always going to have particles and stuff like that, and the calibration frames just help eliminate it. So I've only got dark files and bias files. So the dark files, you take the same amount of exposure time, so in this case 300 seconds, but you've got to try and get the sensor on the camera to the exact same temperature as when you took the light frames. It's a lot more work with a DSLR because you obviously need to take the photos that night. But with a dedicated Astro camera, if it's got a cooler on it, I can set it to be minus 10 degrees on the sensor. So I've had all these running whenever, really. And then the bias frames basically just takes the shortest picture that it can. So you can see here it's 1/1000th of a second. And it just kind of like picks up if there's any, just other kind of noise that it wants to get rid of. So those automatically are just pre-checked because you don't need to go through and see which ones are better and all that. And then basically when you do that, click stack check pictures, and then so in the stacking parameters you can come in and choose what kind of picture you want. So I kind of just stick with standard mode. A lot of people suggest medium kappa sigma clipping for basically, well, these two. Automatic alignment is good, so then it automatically goes through, sees what your light files look like and lines them up. So there's some light files that after the meridian flip where your mount changes to the other side, the image is going to be upside down. So by going automatic alignment, it automatically fixes that. And then just wherever you want to stack it, and then I'll show you the stacked image after this. Alright, and so this is the final stacked image. You can see a bit of the nebulosity and that. So I'm basically just going to do this again with the other two filters, and then we'll jump over into Photoshop. Alright, so I've got each of these now in Photoshop. So first thing you need to do is come into mode and change it from a 32-bit channel to a 16-bit channel, and change it to exposure and gamma. And then come into here, so image, adjustments, curves. And basically, because everything's so dark, we want to stretch the image to try and get that detail around there out of the actual picture. So this happens a few times just to try and get the most out of it that we can. So I'll play around with this for a bit. So one thing I'll like to try and do is bring out all these colors around the picture, but then try and keep some of the actual space nice and dark, which I usually do that by adding in a bit of an S to the curves. Keep in mind, like I was saying before, I'm not an expert at this in the slightest, so I could be doing this like completely wrong to how some people view it, but that's just how I like to do it. Alright, so I might do all these curves, and then when we've done that, we'll come back, show you the finished images, and then I can show you how to make it into a color picture. Alright, so that's all the stretching done. So next thing, like I've got a profile saved, but one thing I learnt was basically come up here, select this, and select the whole image, and then you can see in the bottom there the pixel size. So 4656 width and 3520 height. So next thing you want to do is come in here, go new, and put in here your width and your height. So in that way it actually makes the correct size for that camera, so you don't have to worry about the frame being too big or too small. Or another way you can do it is select the whole picture, and then it'll come up here, clipboard. It automatically pre-fills everything, but the only thing you need to change is your grayscale. You want that to be RGB color. That's the biggest thing you need to worry about, is RGB color. And as soon as you do that, you can click here and you can actually save the preset, which is what I've done here, 1600 mm color. So I can just come along, click that, creates a picture exactly the same size with our channels in there. And if the channels aren't showing up, you come up to Window, tick Channels. So there, it's not showing the channels. Window, Channels, bam, you got your red, green, blue. So the most common orientation for these three filters, because basically hydrogen is red, sulfur is a little bit of a darker red, more to an like brownish color. So those two are very similar to each other. And then oxygen 3 is more of a blue. So a lot of people, I've got this here, I've grabbed this from bintel.com. They've got a narrowband preview tool. I'll leave a link to that as well. It basically shows you what kind of colors you can get using hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen. So HSO, so hydrogen red, sulfur green, oxygen blue. That's the most common one that people use, and that's roughly what you can achieve. Another most common one would be the Hubble palette. Like people would have seen the pillars of creation that I've got on the screen at the moment. It's using the Hubble palette. So it uses sulfur as red, hydrogen as green, and oxygen as blue. It just gives it more of a green-blue color. Whereas compared to the hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen, gives it, orange, pinkish. One of those things, you can use the preview tool from Bintel, and you put in your black and white photos and it will show you roughly what it'll look like. But yeah, they've also just got stock pictures that you can just have a quick look. There is also bicolor photos where you just use two of the filters, and so it'll be, for instance, HA03. So you're only using the two filters over the three colors. You'll also see that in that link from Bintel, but yeah, I've just always used the three colors. So once you've decided what you're going to go with, I'm going to go with HSO common. So we want our hydrogen. Just come here, make sure the border is selected. Control A to select it all. Control C to copy it. Come over to your picture and then you click the red channel here and it's all white because there's nothing there. Control V and it pastes it in there. So basically, wherever it's white, that is a signal in that red channel. So if we have a look at that, yeah, that looks pretty crap because these two are still white. But then, so we come over to 03, again, Control A, Control C, over back to our new one, and we know that 03 is going to be blue. So we select the blue channel, Control V, and it comes in here. Now you can see down here that it's all green because green is completely white. If that was completely black, it'd do a red and blue mix onto that. So last but not least, come to sulfur, which it's going in green because there's nothing else. Control V, and it comes up with that. So obviously it doesn't look like much at the moment, but you can see here, not everything is lined up. So if we come to the red, it's all the way here. But then if we go green, it's all the way over to the right, and blue. So green and blue are pretty close. Don't mind this. This was before I got a focuser. But we can see the red needs to move a lot. So click the move tool, and I usually just use my arrow keys on my keyboard. Let's go. Is that far enough? No. Just move it along until it starts getting close. Oh. And then another way is go to the full color image and just look at the stars. So you can see the blue needs to come up and to the left a bit. So red needs to come across, let's say 2 and then down 1. Now blue basically needs to go back to where it was. So because there's a fair bit of blue there, like if you look at these pictures, like look how small that star is. That was a nicely focused picture. That one, you can see a lot of the grain and that, but it's a little bit bigger. But then these blue ones, they were quite out of focus. So that's why there's more blue. But once you get an inline picture, that's pretty much what you need to do. And so you can see we've got like yellow, pink, where if we come back to here, that's what that hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen is known for. So it kind of shows us that it works. So, and then because obviously these don't all perfectly line up, that's when I usually just come in and frame it up a little bit nicer. So let's just go with that, crop it. And now we come over to adjustments, and this one here, it's selective color. Again, with this, I'm not the best at this in the slightest. I just kind of move these sliders around until I like what I see. So we can see, like, because our green is so strong, like it's a lot grainier. That's why our color image is very green in space. So I come into selective color, go into greens, and basically just play around with it until I get something that I'm happy with. But there is obviously method to all this, but for me, I just play around till I get something I'm happy with. So I'll play around with this, and then I'll see you guys back with the finished image. Alright, so it's a bit of clusterfuck, let's put it that way. But I don't know, I don't mind it. Like, it's obviously not very accurate to what you'll see if you use true color, or even comparing it to these, but that's one thing I like about it. You can just stuff around, see what you can get, and if you're happy with it, just go from there. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed these 2 videos. Let me know if you want more astrophotography stuff. And yeah, don't forget, in no way am I an expert at this, obviously judging by the picture. But hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you for the next one. Cheers.